Hey guys, welcome back. We'll cover the rest of the topics. The next topic which we are going to cover is the global minimum tax by EU. EU basically is European Union. It is a union of 27 countries in Western Europe, and basically they have decided to levy this minimum tax on big corporate companies. Okay. Like there are companies like Google who are doing business in EU. Like for example, Google is taking let's suppose advertisement amount from an X company which is selling products on its website in EU, but that company is based in let's suppose USA. Okay. So and that company is paying advertisement fees to Google in USA, and USA's income is being registered in Google's income is being registered in USA. That company's income is also being registered in USA, but the product is being sold in EU because internet has no boundaries. Okay. So when that product is being sold in EU, but that product is being sold by an American company by using Google, the AdWords of Google, because when you search Google, there are various, when you search anything on Google, let's suppose you search a dentist near me, so there will be various, I would say, lists of dentists near you, and on the top there will be some dentists near you on which you will see that chota sa AD written. That is that particular dentist has run an advertisement campaign on Google, has paid money to Google to feature his name on the top, so that you click them the most and you see their profile the most and you visit, there will be more chances that you visit them. Likewise, there are many companies who are paying to Google for this ad, and Google runs this ad worldwide. It depends where you want to run this ad, but Google can run this ad worldwide. Okay. So let's suppose Google is running this ad in EU. Okay. So a customer which is based in EU takes the product, buys the product, the money goes to the company over here who is running this ad, and Google also got this money from the company prior only, but the governments here in EU got nothing. They got no taxes, despite of the fact that business was done or the transactions were done in their territory. So the EU basically has decided to put this minimum tax on tech giants. Basically tech giants are like Facebook is also running ads and all, Google is there, then Amazon, Flipkart and all, not Flipkart, sorry, Amazon is a global player. Like these big companies, on these big companies this tax will be levied. Now actually this tax, levying of this tax is being discussed from, I would say, 2-3 years, and 2023 has been decided as the year where we are tax, we have started to tax, and this tax, this EU's global minimum tax will be levied from 2023 onwards. So this is basically the concept of this tax. But where was it discussed? What were the options available to the countries through which they can tax? India is also wanting to do that, because let's suppose any entity which is based, let's suppose in USA, again using Google as for running ads in India and for India as a market, and I buy a product from that by seeing that ad, and I order that product comes to me in a week. I pay to that company, that company is already paid to Google for running those ads. So whatever economic activity has happened in USA. The companies, they have got or they have earned profit in USA, and they are giving taxes on that profit to the government of USA, not to government of India, but the transaction happened in India. Okay. So this is the basic, I would say, concept behind this taxing, and India is also looking forward to levy certain kind of tax but EU has started doing it, and from 2023 onwards it will happen. Members of the European Union agreed in principle to implement a minimum tax of 15% on big businesses. Now, last year, a global deal to ensure big companies pay a minimum tax rate of 15% and make it harder for them to avoid taxation has been agreed by 136 countries. 136 countries have agreed this fact that we need to levy this, and EU becomes the first to levy it. Which type of companies are considered as big companies? This deal will cover firms with global sales above 20 billion euros, jinki hai, that is $23 billion, and profit margins above 10%. These companies will be taxed. It is expected to hit digital giants like Amazon, Google, Facebook. Now, the build up to this tax background, what has led that the countries are levying this particular tax? Companies like Apple, Facebook, Google and other tech giants profit enormously from the domestic markets while they make minimal contributions to public coffers. Like for example, they make exorbitant gains in India. Let's suppose on Amazon there is a registered seller which is not in India, which is in XYZ other country, let's suppose USA only. Now that person is selling his goods in India through Amazon. Can be possible. He's taking the profits over there, Amazon is taking whatever money from him, it is taking in USA, but the money is going from an Indian customer. So, Indian government should be taxing it, Indian government is not taxing it, is not able to tax it because the system is such. Now, to address this issue, almost 140 countries started negotiation under the auspices of OECD. OECD stands for Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Basically, OECD is an organization which came into existence in 1961, and it is an organization of 38 member countries are there presently, and these member countries are basically promoting democracy, market economy, and largely these countries are developed countries of the world, to be very frank. Western Europe, America and all are part of it. Now in OECD basically they started to discuss about it, and they were trying to find an agreement on a global tax overhaul to address how multinationals are taxed in nations where they have users or consumers. So there were two ways which were proposed by OECD in this respect. First was, countries would be allowed to have some rights to tax profits made on the basis of sales in their jurisdiction. Whatever amount of sales are made in their jurisdiction, they tax that. Or they are not considering the sales, they are considering the income, total income from the countries, and they are taxing 15% of that. That was the second way. Okay. Talked about the global minimum corporate tax to stop countries basically lowering the tax rate, and 15% was decided that this minimum tax should be there. EU has adopted the second wala. Okay. The deal has two main pillars basically. Pillar 1 calls for redistribution of profits generated by the largest companies to the domicile market, like the part 1 which we discussed, or type 1, this is type 1 only. The companies, they will have to declare in their balance sheet that from India how much profit I have taken, and if the profit is above 10%, then whatever, let's suppose a product was brought for 100 rupees and sold for 115 rupees by that company on Amazon or XYZ anywhere. Now the profit margin is 15%, that is more than 10%. So 5% more than 10% it is. So out of that 5%, 25% will come to the government of India, means 1.25 rupees as tax will be payable by that company to government of India. Means whatever profit is above 10%, in this case the example which I gave you, the profit above 10% was 5 rupees, because the product bought for 100, sold for 115, the profit was 15 rupees or 15% in this case. So extra above 10% or 10 rupees is 5% or 5 rupees, and out of that 5 rupees, 25% of that 5 rupees has to be given to the Government of India, that is 1.25 rupees as tax. This can be one method. Okay. The second method which has been adopted by EU, global minimum effective tax rate of 15%. Whatever you do, whatever transactions you do, whatever income you get from those transactions, 15% of that has to be given as tax. We are not going into profits, nothing like that. Whatever income you get, 15% of that we are going to take as taxes. Okay. So, this is the second way, this is the first way decided by OECD, okay, and EU has adopted this. Countries can adopt this also, it depends on them, but EU has adopted this. Next piece of news is basically deep fakes. Now just imagine a situation where someone is using your pic, your face, and by using artificial intelligence, machine learning and all these kind of technologies, you know, that person has created a video by using your face, and in that video you are speaking something which in actuality you have not done. And imagine people watching those videos, they will consider that you are talking. That is called as deep fake. That video is deep fake. It is a fake video and it is very deeply faked because it is meant to, you know, create such a perception that you are there in that video who is speaking. So this deep fake as a term was coined in the year 2017, and UPSC, you know, has this tendency of asking questions based on terminologies. Recently this term was in news, what does it mean, things like these. Okay. So you should know, you should understand what deep fake is. You know, there are many deep fakes of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Xi Jinping, and these deep fakes are basically used to create false perceptions among the people, and that is why this is a cyber crime. Okay. So this you should understand what deep fake is. Let's go through it. Deep fakes are compilation of artificial images and audio put together with machine learning algorithms to spread misinformation and replace a real person's appearance, voice, or both with similar artificial likeness or voices. It can create people who do not exist, and it can fake real people saying or doing things they did not say or do. The term deepfake originated in the year 2017 when an anonymous Reddit user called himself a deepfake. This user manipulated Google's open source deep learning technology to create and post pornographic videos basically. A deepfake technology is now being used for nefarious purposes like scams and, you know, holding celebrity pornography and all these are basically cyber crimes in which this deepfake is being used. Okay. Election manipulation also it is being used for social engineering, automated disinformation attacks. All these are the purposes of or the uses of deepfakes. Just imagine a video being circulated during the election times in which Modi ji is saying something on that video, and people come to believe that Modi ji is saying this, but that basically can be a deep fake also. Okay. So that is to be understood, that is to be known, and as aspirants or as responsible citizens, I would say it is your duty to verify everything which you see on the digital space. Everything you see is not true, so it is always better that, you know, rely on verifiable sources. Like if you are this is election time, and do not believe any news which is published by, you know, some XYZ page. Always believe in the fact or in those news which has been published by media houses, because those are considered to be responsible I would say players, and at times mistakenly they also publish misinformation. Okay, but largely their information is authenticated, and as compared to those pages which are, you know, broadcasting fake informations also. Okay. Chalo. Now next is Goa Liberation Day. Now basically Goa was under the Portuguese rule for around 451 years. 1961 was the year when Goa got liberation from Portuguese. India was basically under the Britishers, but this Goa, Daman, Diu was basically Portuguese, I would say, colony. When the Britishers left in 1947, the Portuguese did not leave Goa and Daman and Diu. They were still, controlling Goa. Were the people of Goa happy with that? No, the people of Goa were not happy with that. Basically, the Goa Liberation movement was initiated in the 19th century and it intensified from 1940 onwards. From 1940 till 1961 it intensified, and in 1961 the people of Goa pleaded help from Government of India that please liberate us from Portuguese. Government of India asked, if we liberate you from Portuguese, will you be part of India? They were agreeing to be part of India. Yes, we will be part of India. And hence our armed forces attacked Goa, which was a Portuguese territory, Goa, Daman, Diu and all. And it was basically the first ever coordinated tri-service attack of our armed forces. Coordinated tri-service attack means the army, the navy, the air force, all were in that attack. It was a 36-hour long fight with the Portuguese armed forces. We made them surrender, and those people surrendered after 36 hours, basically 19th of December I think it was. And the Portuguese basically perceive it as an attack on them by the Indians, and we perceive it as we were liberating Goa. So this was basically the difference. However, the Portuguese surrendered, and when they surrendered, Goa became a union territory in India. Now Goa is a state. In 1961 it became a union territory. In 1987 it got statehood and it got converted into a state. So all this we will see in this particular topic. December 19 basically is celebrated as the Goa Liberation Day, the day on which the Portuguese surrendered. The day is celebrated annually to mark the success of Operation Vijay. This was the operation which was launched by the armed forces. Undertaken by the Indian armed forces to defeat Portuguese colonial forces and liberate Goa in 1961. Now Operation Vijay, a 36-hour military operation started on December 18, 1961 and concluded on December 19, 1961. It was about the liberation of Portuguese territories of Goa, Daman and Diu. This was possibly the Indian Armed Forces' first tri-service operation, as I told you. The Indian Air Force bombed the Portuguese air base at Dabolim, while the army advanced from the north and east into Goa. So Air Force आ गया, Army आ गया. Indian Navy was tasked with preventing hostile action by Portuguese warships, securing access to Mormugao harbour, now the Mormugao port, and securing Anjadeep Island off the coast of Karwar. Basically, it is there in near to Daman and Diu. By the evening of December 19, 1961, Portuguese Governor General Vassalo de Silva had signed the surrender document. After Indian armed forces led by army and backed by the Air Force and Navy had outnumbered and outgunned the Portuguese. So this was basically the war scenario. Then the aftermath of Operation Vijay, what happened after that? As a result, Goa was brought under the control of Indian government. And became part of Indian Union as the Union Territory of Goa, Daman and Diu. However, in 1967, that is 6 years down the line, a plebiscite was conducted. Plebiscite basically is a vote in which a question is asked to the public, and the question here asked was whether you want to be part of the Maharashtra state or you want to remain a separate entity. So most of the Goans voted for remaining as a separate entity, and hence their tag of a union territory was intact with them. They remained as a union territory. Eventually, in 1987, when it was granted statehood, Goa became India's 25th state at that time in 1987, while Daman and Diu still remained to be a union territory. Now, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu is merged as a union territory. There are presently 8 union territories in India and 28 states. Okay. So, this is basically the story of Goa, which got formed as a union territory. Next is North Eastern Council. Basically, it is a zonal council. Now, there are other zonal councils also in India. Basically, this is for northeastern region, and if I talk about other zonal councils, there is this northern council, there is this central council, southern council, eastern council, and then we have this northeastern council. The difference between other zonal councils and northeastern councils is that other zonal councils have been formed under the States Reorganization Act of 1956, and this Northeastern Zonal Council has been formed under a separate act. The name of that act basically is Northeastern Council Act. It was passed in, I think, 1970s, and 1972 basically it was passed, because recently Golden Jubilee, Prime Minister Modi attended the Golden Jubilee celebration of Northeastern Council at Shillong. He also addressed an official meeting of NEC as well as public meetings on this occasion. Prime Minister also inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of multiple projects worth over 2450 crore. Now, if I talk about this northeastern region, Northeastern Council, what is it for, what is the purpose of it, we will discuss abhi. But before getting into this topic, let us first understand the importance of the northeastern region. What is the importance attached with the northeastern region? For this, I will draw the map, but I need you to pardon my drawing, because my drawing is not so basically, this is the northeastern region, I would say, the 7 sister states, but in the Northeastern Council, these 7 plus Sikkim is part of it. Now, this region is very, very important for us. Very, very important. Why? Because this region is basically the gateway to Southeast Asia. If we have a developed northeastern region, we will be able to connect in a better way with Southeast Asian regions or Southeast Asian countries. And these Southeast Asian countries basically are very, I would say, fast growing economies of the world. We have our Look East policy, which got converted into Act East policy in 2014. Look East policy got formed in 1992. In the Act East policy, we want to integrate with the eastern part of Asia, from Japan till Australia, New Zealand, and for integrating with them economically, strategically, it is very, very much, I would say, important that our northeastern region is developed, because if it is developed, from here only we can do the trade and all everything. We don't need to bring that to mainland India. Apart from it, this particular region, the northeastern region, is also located at a very strategic location, because here we have the dragon in the north, that is China. China has this 5-finger policy which we discussed last class, and one of the fingers is Arunachal Pradesh, another finger Sikkim. China is eyeing on these regions of India, and China eyeing on these regions of India, it simply means that China wants to take control of it. And if this region goes out, or if this region is under the control of China, then it will be a very major loss for India, because this entire territory will go. We have neglected the northeastern region since the past. Actually, development in the northeastern region was not as per the plans. Development was devoid in the northeastern regions. But in the recent past, the development has started to happen in the northeastern region. There are many airports which have been, developed in the northeastern region. Railroad connectivity is happening. Many industries are being set up over there. Japan has been, brought into, I would say, the picture for developing the northeastern region. The Prime Minister launched this divine policy which we discussed a few classes back. PM divine for northeastern region it is. We will discuss today also. So this is a very crucial region for India. And the northeastern region has petroleum and oil reserves. In Assam it has. A lot of jungle reserves or natural resources are there. There are a lot of coal fields also in Meghalaya. So ample amount of resources are there, and these people who are living in the northeastern region are considered one of the most skillful people. Then why should we lose on them? The literacy rates are good. Everything is good over there. But what is not good is the development, which had been ignored. But now the governments are focusing on development in the northeastern region, and there is a separate ministry for that also. Development of northeastern region, a donor ministry is there, and which is, I think, headed by Amit Shah only. Apart from it, there is always a member from the northeastern region in the cabinet of Narendra Modi government. Like we have Kiran Rijiju. So we have increased our focus on this region because we have come to realize the actual importance of this region. Now, basically, when the Prime Minister announced foundation stone for multiple projects with over 2450 crore rupees, these included an integrated beekeeping development center. Beekeeping, basically a part of agriculture. 21 Hindi libraries for Mizoram, Manipur, Tripura and Assam. Basically, these Hindi libraries simply mean that we want them to, adopt our culture, we will adopt their culture. They should be very well culturally integrated with the I would say mainland India. Northeastern Council, if I talk about that council. The Northeastern Council was established by an act of the Parliament in 1971. It was formally inaugurated on 7th November 1972 at Shillong and has completed 50 years in November 2022. But the golden jubilee ceremony was now. This council is the nodal agency for economic and social development of northeastern region. Basically, this council involves chief ministers of all the states, 8 states, the 7 sister states, and the 8th is Sikkim, and they discuss that how we can collaborate with each other for social and economic development of the entire region. And this is the basic objective of all the regional committees in India. Okay. Regional councils in India, like the other regional council, the Northern Regional Council, the Central Regional Council, the Southern Regional Council, the Western Regional Council and the Eastern Regional Council, and this is the Northeastern Regional Council. All these are, the objective is same, The difference between Northeastern Council and other councils is that Northeastern Council has been established by this Act of Parliament in 1971 and the other councils have been established by the States Reorganization Act of 1956. NER consists of 8 states: Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura. So 7 sisters plus Sikkim. Since its establishment, NEC has been instrumental in setting in motion a new economic endeavour aimed at removing the basic handicaps that stood in the way of normal development of the region. Basically nothing but it has told that it has contributed in development of the entire region. Now PM delivered a speech and the key highlights of PM's speech. The government, he said that red card to challenges in northeastern region. Red card is basically given by referees in football or other sports, where if a red card is shown to a particular player, that player has to leave the field, means that player is out. So he is saying that red card has been shown to various challenges in northeast, means those challenges are out now. The government has shown the red card to challenges in the northeastern region, including corruption, political nepotism and unrest. Now border areas basically in northeast are not the last miles, but he said India's main pillars they are. Northeast is the peace and development gateway for trade and other ties with Southeast Asian countries. As I told you that it is very important for us to connect with the Southeast Asian countries through or via northeast. Then the government is working on developing the border villages, like the Vibrant Border Village project is being running to develop that. Now this part northeast India was also under, I would say, a lot of disturbances post independence. A lot of insurgent groups like the Nagas, the Bodos, the Ulfa, almost in every state in northeast India, these insurgent groups were there causing disturbances. Their demand either a separate nation or a separate state for themselves. Okay. So this region has been under disturbance, a lot of disturbances post independence, and this was also one of the reasons why it was not developed or why it did not develop. Now act fast for northeast and act first for northeast. Basically this act fast and act first has been taken from Act East policy of ours. We have this Act East policy in which we want to integrate economically, culturally and strategically with the Eastern Asian region. He said that for integrating or for making Act East policy, act first or act fast for northeast first and act first for northeast. Then only we will be able to act for East Asia. Basically this was his point over here. Then infrastructural development. If I talk about infrastructural development in the region, the airports in the region increased from 9 to 16 and the number of flights increased from 900 to 1900 in the last 8 years. Work is now underway to connect all state capitals of the region by railway. PM underscores the 50% increase in length of national highways in the region. They have been increased since 2014. The infrastructure projects in the northeast gained momentum after the launch of PM Divine scheme. Now what is this PM Divine scheme? We will see. Improved digital connectivity. The digital connectivity has improved in the northeastern region with the optical fiber network with 6,000 mobile towers being set up at a cost of rupees 5,000 crore. 5G is also planned to be introduced over there in the northeastern region. If I talk about peace and security, several peace initiatives have been taken, several groups have surrendered themselves. There are various, I would say, peace talks with the Nagas also, it has happened. So largely insurgency now has come down in the northeastern region, and particularly after 2014 there have been many surrenders as per the claims by the government. But yes, insurgency has considerably come down in the northeastern region. Now PM's development initiative for northeastern region, this is the PM Divine which we were talking about. Basically Union Cabinet has approved the scheme for northeast India. It is a central sector scheme with 100% central funding. It will be implemented by Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region, donor. It will have an outlay of 6,600 crore for the 4-year period, that is 2022-23 to 2025-26. Okay. The infrastructure projects, basically this scheme is for developing infrastructure projects, will be funded in line with the priorities laid down under the PM Gati Shakti program. Gati Shakti program is a program of the Prime Minister which was launched during the COVID years, and according to this Gati Shakti program, infrastructure development has to be done. Basically multimodal infrastructure development has to be undertaken. Objectives, basically fund infrastructure convergently in the spirit of PM Gati Shakti. This has to be done. Support social development projects based on felt needs of northeastern region. We have to do that. Enable livelihood activities for youth and women, and fill the development gaps in various sectors. This is all the basic objectives of the PM Divine, that is Development Initiative for Northeastern region. Okay. So, Northeast region, its importance you have understood. It was neglected earlier, now things are happening over there. Why is it important? Strategically, economically, in all aspects it is very, very important, and we have done considerable amount of progress over there. Considerable amount of progress in terms of economic infrastructure, in terms of security of that region, in by stating that how these insurgent groups, they have given up their arms and all. So, all these we have done over there in Northeast. Now, next piece of news is Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. Basically, it is a digital library. It simply means that there is this repository of information of traditional knowledge of Indians. Traditional knowledge means the knowledge which we have taken from our ancestors, and like basically traditional knowledge with respect to medicines. Like for example, there was this conflict that on tulsi, neem and haldi. Haldi is turmeric. The medicinal advantages of these herbs. USA, one company in USA was trying to do the patents and all, but we opposed. We said that we have already, you are not the first one to find it. We are already using it. We are already doing it. So at that time the government said that okay, if you are doing it, we should create this repository that was in the form of TKDL, and the main purpose of TKDL should be to file for patents of the traditional knowledge which we are having, so that some other company does not file it or some other entity does not file it, because it is our repository, our, I would say, asset. So basically this is the basic purpose of TKDL, so that it can protect the intellectual property rights of the traditional knowledge in India, particularly with respect to medicine. Now, recently Indira Gandhi National Centre for Arts and CSIR TKDL signed a memorandum of understanding. CSIR, Centre for Scientific and Industrial Research. The Traditional Knowledge Digital Library, what is this? It is a pioneering Indian initiative jointly by the CSIR and Ministry of Ayush, Centre for Scientific and Industrial Research. Aim is to prevent exploitation and to protect Indian traditional knowledge from misappropriation by way of wrongful intellectual property rights. The TKDL contains Indian traditional medicine knowledge from classical or traditional texts related to Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Sova Rigpa and yoga techniques in a digitized format, and is available in 5 international languages, that is English, French, Japanese, Spanish and German. That is basically TKDL. Now, the next piece of news is basically the Talcher Sanctuary. Talcher Sanctuary is basically was in news. Why? Because this black buck sanctuary, there was this black buck, Salman Bhai, is associated with black buck in Churu district of Rajasthan. This is the Churu district, one of the hottest places in the country, and this is the Talcher Sanctuary over here in Rajasthan. This is the map of Rajasthan where other protected areas in the form of national park and wildlife sanctuaries are demarcated. Now about the Talcher Sanctuary. The Talcher Sanctuary is known as the home of black buck and various other varieties of birds in Rajasthan. The sanctuary is flanked by the Great India Desert, Thar, means it is touched by the Thar Desert, and boasts a unique ecosystem and is an important bird watching destination in India. Migratory birds in the sanctuary. Which are the migratory birds in the sanctuary which are found? Harriers, eastern imperial eagles, tawny eagle, short-toed eagle, sparrow and little green bee eaters, black ibis and demoiselle cranes, whereas skylarks, crested larks, ring doves and brown doves are seen round the year. These are seen round the year and the rest are migratory birds. If I talk about fauna, desert fox and desert cat can be spotted in the sanctuary. So, it was important to give protection status to the sanctuary. Nothing I would say conceptual to understand here in this news piece, but just a factual piece of news which needs to be understood. Now, this piece of news, that is India's population, this is basically from the editorial section, and in this particular topic I would specially request you guys to take a pen and paper with you, and because we are going to discuss various definitions under this, and we will see what government of India is doing about the I would say growing population in the country, how we are going to tackle the growing population, especially from I would say economic point of view. Okay. From that point of view, how we are going to tackle the increasing population, particularly we are going to be the most populous country in the world by 2023 according to a UN report. So, how will we tackle the increased amount of population, particularly from this viewpoint of economic development. And here we will also be discussing a term that is called as human capital. Okay. So, we will be doing that as well. Now, India's population, the United Nations recently projected India's population to reach 1428.63 million, means 141 I would say crore or 142 crore according to this, and China's is 1425.67 million by 2023. On the one hand, India has doubled life expectancy. Life expectancy is defined as the average number of years a human being lives in a country basically. Okay. Basically the life expectancy was 31 years in 1947 and now it is 70 years in 2022, means on an average 70 years a person lives. This is basically a testament to the fact that how our healthcare setup has emerged successful, how we have grown in the healthcare sector, because earlier there were diseases in which people got killed and now there are treatments for those diseases. Do you know, just like COVID, there was this pandemic which spread in 1918, from 1918 till 1920 there was this pandemic called as Spanish flu, and it killed approximately 1 to 1.5 crore people in India, and every year census happens. 1900 every 10 years census happens. 1901, 1911, 1921, 1931, like this it happens every 10 years. Now, the 1921 census, when it happened after the Spanish flu, it is the only census in the history of India which has recorded negative growth in population, the only census in India in the history of census. Else in every census we have seen or witnessed positive growth. Reason was Spanish flu. We were not medically so advanced that we could save lives of the people at that time, but now we are. So, life expectancy has gone up. Now, India's demographic indicators, there are various demographic indicators which we will be discussing. First is population growth. India has a population of 138 crore in 2022, which is 4 times since the time of independence 1947. There we were 34 crore people. It accounts for about 5% of the world's population, which is projected to reach 150 crores by 2030 and 166 crores by 2050. We are not going to stop. We will keep on increasing. Then decline in India's TFR. TFR basically stands for total fertility rate. Now, total fertility rate can be defined as the average number of children a woman is giving birth to in her fertility age. Her fertility age is counted from 15 to 49 years. So, during this period, on an average, how many children she is giving birth to. Now, this average has come down to 2 now, and in some states it is below 2 also, but on an average it is 2 now. But when we got independence 1947 or just after independence, it was basically 6. TFR was 6. Okay. Now, and on average every woman was giving birth to 6 children over there at that time. Now it is 2. Now, total fertility rate can also be linked to a concept of replacement levels. Replacement level basically can be defined as a level in which the new generation is replacing the older generation. The new generation is replacing the older generation. So, a mother, father, the older generation, if they are giving birth to 2 children, then they are getting replaced. Means a woman on an average should be giving birth to 2 children, so that the total, I would say, the replacement levels are met. If the woman is giving birth to 3 children, then the replacement levels are being exceeded. If the woman is giving birth to 1 child, then it is below the replacement levels. On an average, 2.1 is considered as the replacement level. So, basically the total fertility rate presently is 2, and that is why we are saying that the total fertility rate of India has reached below the replacement levels. Mortality indicator. Life expectancy at birth saw a remarkable recovery graph from 32 years in 1947 to 70.9 years in 2022. We already discussed life expectancy. The infant mortality rate. Mortality means death. Infant means a child which is less than 1 year of age. So, if that child is dying, that is basically alarming for us, because as a society, as a country, we are not able to save the newborns. There can be multiple reasons for that. First, economic reasons, means our healthcare setup is not that developed. We are not immunizing them, vaccinating them, and that is why they are contracting diseases and dying. Or health and nutrition is not proper. We are not providing them with adequate nutrition, and that is why they are when they are contracting diseases, they are dying. Another reason can be social also, like in India or elsewhere also in the world, people are not accepting the girl child as they are accepting the male child. So, they neglect the girl child, they neglect the health care of the girl child, they neglect the nutrition of the girl child purposely, or at times they kill the girl child deliberately, which contributes in high IMR. So, IMR basically declined from 130 per 1000 live births in 1951 to 27.6 in 2022. The maternal mortality ratio, MMR, basically is the death rate during childbirth. The death of a female during childbirth while giving childbirth is maternal mortality rate. It has improved from 2000 deaths per 1 lakh live births in 1947 to 97 per 1 lakh live births in 2022. Crude death rate, India witnessed CDR of 9.1 per 1000 people in 2022, an improvement for more than 200 per 1000 population post independence. So, this is basically the improvement which we have seen on various, I would say, population indicators. Now, population is increasing. It is the duty of the government to work on human capital. We are the youngest nation of the world. Average age of India is around 28-29 years. Around 65% of our population is below 35 years of age. Around 67 to 68% of our population is in the working age group. Working age group can be said 15 to 64 years. or at times 15 to 59 years also it is referred to. So when the maximum population is in the working age group, it is the duty of the government to make sure that this maximum population is adequately provided with sources for work, adequately provided with employment opportunities. If the government is able to provide, then we will say that India is reaping a demographic dividend. Dividend means profit, demography means population, a profit which is coming out of the population. Why? Because maximum of your population is in the working age group. There are many countries in the world like Japan where population aging is happening where substantial portion of their population is in the non-working age group. So Japan is suffering from it. But we have this opportunity, the golden opportunity, where our maximum population is in the working age group. So we should make sure, means the government should make sure that this population gets adequate employment opportunities. If the government fails, it will be a demographic disaster, not a demographic dividend. Okay. So you should know this concept of demographic dividend. Now what is human capital? According to OECD, human capital is defined as the knowledge, skills, competencies and other characteristics embedded in humans and used to produce commodities, services or ideas for the market. Basically the skills which are there in the humans, and by using those skills economic activity can be done, that is called as human capital. These characteristics determine the productive capacity and earning potential of the labor force. Basically capital is defined as an investment which gives further returns, an investment which gives further returns. So if the investment is done in the humans, in the skill development of the humans, then that is called as human capital. Okay. So we have to invest in the human capital. Now why should we invest? Again, median age is 28 years. We are going through a demographic dividend, or we can reap the demographic dividend. We have full chances of reaping it. So definitely we should be investing in human capital. There is no, I would say, reason for the government to not invest in human capital, and government is also doing so. You see Skill India programs, you see the new education policy 2020 which has been rolled out. It is all for developing skills in the people, and we are seeing the present trends of remittances which we discussed I think last week. $100 billion remittances are coming to India. The majority of the remittances which are coming to India are from the skilled workforce which are working in USA and all. So when we are getting remittances in such a huge amount by our humans, by our human force, in which we have invested over the years and which we have built this human capital, this is paying results for us, and it can pay in the future also, because no other country in the world is having this big or this huge workforce. No country, not even China. We have the maximum people in the working age group. So we should be looking forward to it. Now there was this COVID crisis which struck us, and when this COVID crisis struck us, various, I would say, governments took various measures for dealing with the crisis so that their population survives economically and healthcare wise also. But we are talking specifically about economic survival. So there were many countries who eased their monetary policies. Easing their monetary policies means they lowered down the interest rates, they increased the money supply in the economy so that people should have money to buy resources, to invest on resources. Some countries, they watered down their fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is basically the policy in which the government is designing the tax rates and all for its revenue. So governments all over the world lowered their fiscal policy also, means lowered the taxes also, so that people should have ample in their hands to invest. लोगों के पास पैसे की कमी नहीं होनी चाहिए basically. And the governments worldwide knew that we are doing it. It will cause inflation. It will cause inflation because when there is increased money in circulation, this leads to inflation. And this caused inflation. Apart from it, there were other factors also which contributed to inflation, like the Russia-Ukraine war, the climate crisis and all, where we witnessed heat waves. But yes, this also was a major contributor in creating inflation, and these the countries knew, but that was important also. What did India do to sustain its population, to sustain the demand among the population? Basically, we watered down our monetary policy. We did some aspects with fiscal policy also, in which the government lowered down the taxes or removed the taxes on fuel and all, excise duty. The central government lowered it down and at times removed it also. The government increased subsidy also on various, I would say, essential commodities. The government kept its interest rates lower. From this year it started raising it because inflation was too high. So we did a mix of both. We watered down our monetary policy also, we watered down our fiscal policy also, but we also focused on developing human capital. In this, we rolled out various, I would say, schemes like the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan for the laborers who went back to their respective villages, PM Swanidhi basically for street vendors. It is loans for street vendors which were given, collateral free lending programs to MSMEs which we gave. RBI also announced regulatory measures like moratorium on term loans to enhance liquidity support in the economy. All these things we did, and we focused on skill development also, so that people keep on getting skills, and when they become employment ready, employment unke liye ho. So we did this, actually this route we adopted. Now the next piece of news basically is the International Financial Services Center Authority. Now whenever any foreign investment comes into India, I have already discussed, it comes in the form of FDI or it comes in the form of FPI. FDI basically foreign direct investment, and it is basically an investment done in the infrastructure for buying machines, for creating infrastructure, for generating jobs, like companies like Honda or Mitsubishi. These have come from Japan. They've brought their money from Japan and they've invested that money in creating infrastructure, installing machines and generating jobs here in India. Whereas the second type of investment, foreign investment, which is coming to India is foreign portfolio investment, that is FPI, which is done in the financial instruments, stocks, stock markets and all, and basically for regulating the foreign investments in the financial sector. Financial sector is stock exchanges, the I would say government securities or any other, I would say, bond schemes, insurance sector, pension sector. If any foreign company is investing in such kind of entities, it is called as financial sector investment. So this IFSCA, International Financial Service Center Authority, is basically a regulator of the investments being done in the financial structure or financial sector by foreign entities. It regulates the investments. So this was in news. Recently, IFSCA and Council on Energy, Environment and Water, CEEW, have signed a memorandum of understanding. The MOU between these two organizations will help mutual assistance and cooperation in the areas of sustainable finance. Basically, if any foreign company wants to invest or foreign government wants to invest in environmental projects here in India, because climate finance, as we told you, is gaining momentum. So this MOU has been signed for that, and under this MOU, CEEW and IFSCA, they will also look for investments, they will also attract investors ki aao you invest in India, and IFSCA is going to regulate that kind of investment done in those projects. Now what is IFSCA? It is a statutory authority means it has a legal backing, established under the International Financial Service Centers Authority Act of 2019. Mandate to develop and regulate the financial products, financial services and financial institutions in the International Financial Service Center. And IFSCA aims to develop strong global connection and focus on the needs of the Indian economy, as well as to serve as the international financial platform for entire region. Before the establishment of IFSCA, the foreign investments were monitored, were regulated, but financial regulators like RBI, SEBI, PFRDA and IRDAI were regulating those investments. In whichever sector those investments went, they were regulating. But now there is a single regulator, that is IFSC. GIFT IFSC basically is the maiden IFSC in India. It is located in Gujarat. Now, members of IFSCA, who are the members of IFSCA? Basically, the International Financial Service Centers Authority consists of 9 members appointed by the central government. They will include the chairperson of the authority. One chairperson will be there out of 9 members, and a member each from RBI, SEBI, IRDAI, the PFRDA will be there. Then 2 members from Ministry of Finance will be there. In addition, 2 other members will be appointed on the recommendation of a selection committee. Term of all members will be 3 years, subject to reappointment. The Samarth scheme. Basically, the central government has launched this scheme for the textile sector recently. Okay. And we want to uplift the production in the textile sector, because we have this expertise or we have this asset of textile sector, but the textile sector is underperforming. So, what this Samarth scheme will do? This Samarth scheme basically will be for training artisans, and under this Samarth scheme more than 13,000 artisans have been trained in the last 3 years. Again, skill development we are talking about. So, Government of India launched the scheme for capacity building in textile sector, SCBTS, which is called as Samarth, for the entire value chain of textiles except spinning and weaving. Means we will be developing skills in people for all other works except spinning and weaving in the textile sector. You take note of it, because it is not for spinning and weaving, it is for all other domains. Objective is to provide skills to them so that they become employment ready, and promote skilling and skill upgradation in the traditional sectors of handlooms, handicrafts. Sericulture is basically silk and jute, to enable the provisions of sustainable livelihood either by wage or self-employment to all sections of the society in the country. Implementation agencies who will implement it: the textile industry, obviously when it is related to the textile sector, the institutions, organizations of the Ministry of Textile, state governments having training infrastructure, reputed training institutions, NGOs, societies, trusts, organization, companies, startups, all these will be implementing partners in this Samarth scheme, which is for the textile sector, for developing skills among the people in the textile sector except for spinning and weaving. Next is Samudrayan mission. Samudrayan mission basically is a manned mission by the government, in which they are going to take 3 people deep down in the ocean, that is 6,000 feet down. And why? Because a lot of resources are present deep down the ocean also. For doing research work, how to extract and exploit those resources, we will be doing it. We have a vast coastline, we have vast, I would say, EEZ, exclusive economic zone. Exclusive economic zone basically is this is basically India's coastline. 12 nautical miles from Indian coastline is basically Indian territory only. The next 12 nautical miles is called as the contiguous zone. Okay. The next, I would say, this 200 to 250 nautical miles is considered to be the EEZ, exclusive economic zone of India. Means we have exclusive rights for doing any economic activity in this region. And a lot of, I would say, resources are present in the oceans. One such resource is the polymetallic nodules, PMNs. But we have to send people for exploration, for finding out, for doing research work, that how we can explore, how people can sustain in such deep oceans, and this particular mission is for that. So if I talk about this mission, Union Minister of State Earth Sciences recently said Samudrayaan mission is aimed at sending 3 personnel to 6,000 meter deep in a vehicle which is named as Matsya 6000. Now about Samudrayaan mission is aimed to develop self-propelled manned submersible to carry 3 human beings to a water depth of 6,000 meters in the oceans with a suite of scientific sensors and tools for deep ocean exploration. The experts will be sent in a manned submersible vehicle. ये पढ़ लिया हमने. This vehicle is being designed and developed by National Institute of Ocean Technology, Chennai, under Ministry of Earth Sciences. It has an endurance of 12 hours under normal operation and 96 hours in case of emergency for human safety. Manned submersible provides a feel of direct physical presence for researchers at such deep, I would say, place. With the launch of Samudrayaan in October 2021, India joined the elite club of nations such as USA, Russia, Japan, France and China. These nations have such kind of technology in which they are taking their personnel so deep down in the oceans. Now we have joined them, and it is important for us. Why it is important, because we have this long coastline. We need to exploit the blue economy. Blue economy basically is a term which is any economic activity happening in the oceans or in the nearby areas of the oceans. It can be tourism, it can be extraction, it can be exploration, anything is under blue economy. So we need to exploit it. So we are surrounded from 3 sides by water. We need to exploit that. We need to take advantage of that particular situation. Now in the next piece of news, basically there was this committee on content regulation of government advertisements. Basically each government advertises its I would say objectives, or its I would say any schemes and all it is rolled out. So all these are advertised by the governments, but there are certain conditions for advertising, and these conditions were set up by a case in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court set up a certain committee for recommending the guidelines. Guidelines are like the basic features of a particular scheme should be mentioned on that. You can put the photos of the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, the President, the Vice President, even the Chief Minister and his Cabinet can be there on that, but no political party logo or symbol should be there if you are using government funds. If you are using political party funds, it can be there, but if you are using government funds, you cannot put your political party's name or that like that. It should not be for degrading the other political parties. For that purpose it should not be used. So the Delhi government was using it for degrading other political parties, and that is why the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi basically directed the Delhi Chief Secretary Naresh Kumar to implement a 2016 order of Committee on Content Regulation in Government Advertising. What is this? It is a 3-member body, the committee which recommended that particular advertising I would say guidelines. It was formed by the Union Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in April 2016 on the directions of Supreme Court in its judgment in Common Cause versus Union of India case in May 2015. This body is set up to regulate content of the central and state governments, advertisements in all media platforms. The Supreme Court had also mandated states to constitute their own respective bodies. Some have formulated their own respective bodies, some have given allegiance to the state centre's body, that we will follow whatever the centre's body is saying. Guidelines. In its order also issued set of guidelines for public funded advertisement by the governments. Some of the guidelines mentioned include that government advertising should maintain a political neutrality and avoid glorification of political personalities or projecting a positive impression of the party in power or a negative impression of the party critical of the government. This is somewhere Aam Aadmi Party the present government in Delhi is being notified. They also should not be used as patronizing media houses. And now I come to the last piece of news, that is Ayur Swasth Yojana. This particular Yojana is basically rolled out by the Ministry of Ayush. Actually, there were earlier 2 schemes which were running, and these 2 schemes have now been put into one by merging 2 schemes of the ministry. The first scheme was Central Sector Scheme for Grants and Aid for Promotion of Ayush Intervention in Public Health Initiatives. Ayush basically stands for Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Homeopathy. And these forms of medicines should be integrated with allopathy. Means if you are visiting a hospital, there can be a separate Ayush department. If you wish to get treated by using those medicines, you can. So basically it was for that. And second was Central Sector Scheme for Assistance to Ayush Organizations, basically government, non-government, non-profit organization which engaged in Ayush education for developing center of excellence. There were these 2 schemes. Now these 2 schemes have been merged in this Ayur Swasth Yojana. This Ayur Swasth Yojana is having 2 components. The first component is Ayush and Public Health Initiative, means in every public health sector Ayush department can be there. Next is Center of Excellence should be there, Center of Excellence in educational institutes, basically where people will be taught excellence in these Ayush schemes. So the Center of Excellence component of Ayur Swasth Yojana is basically the financial assistance is provided to eligible individual organizations or institutes for this developing the capacity in research and development, developing the capacity in opening new centers of excellence for promoting Ayush as a way of medicine. Okay. So this basically completes today's class, and we'll quickly move on to the doubt session. I'll be taking doubts over there, and I will also be discussing whether to go for the attempt now or not, or how much time into preparation is idle for going into the attempt. Okay. Thank you very much.